Clifford Young is here with me. He's the president of a Washington, D.C. based market research and consulting firm. Welcome to our broadcast, Clifford.
It's great to be back.
It's certainly interesting these last few days leading up to the election. I guess the real question on people's minds right now, we know what the polls say, but let's talk about the Electoral College and sort of explain this to our international audience. Is there a path to victory for Donald Trump with the Electoral College?
Well, that's a great question, and actually the United States is very different than many other countries. Obviously, in the polls, if we take the average of all the polls nationally, there has been a narrowing. It's about a 4 to 5 point advantage for Clinton, but the national poll doesn't matter on Election Day. It's basically the Electoral College, how each candidate does well in the states. And right now, Clinton's up. Clinton needs 270 to win. She's at about 320 right now. The path for victory for Trump is basically Florida, Ohio, and North Carolina. He at the very least has to win those 3 states to be competitive.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting to see how this is affecting the polls, and Clinton's campaign releasing this video, sort of like breaking it down to the American public what this means. She's not being indicted. We don't know what these emails say just yet. How do you think this will affect her critics versus the undecided voter?
Yeah, well, she's doing what she needs to do. And so she's trying to do damage control, fill the vacuum before someone else defines what the problem is. Mm-hmm. But historically speaking, our experience is that such sort of events have little impact. Mm-hmm. They could, we'll see. We actually have to wait until about midweek to see if the polls are changing. I doubt it. Indeed, to be quite frank, much of this kind of the scandal issue is already baked in, when it related to Clinton, is already baked into people's kind of calculus. Those who like her have already taken as a given. Those who don't, just reinforces what they already think.
What's trending now is that the Federal Bureau of Investigation in America knew about all of this weeks ago, but yet waited to actually say that they were going to try and reopen this investigation. Is it anyone's best guess as to why they waited?
No, that's a great question. We don't know the internal dynamics, but what we do know about the FBI, it's one of the most liked institutions, reputable institutions in the United States. I think most Americans are willing to give it the benefit of the doubt. There might be an internal dynamic, but probably the decision made was the right decision, at least by Americans and public opinion.
And it's so interesting that we're hearing that the Attorney General of the United States, Loretta Lynch, actually advised James Comey, he actually reports to her, not to come forward with this letter to Congress, but he did it anyway. What are the political implications here?
Well, I think long-term, very few, actually. Once again, I'll just reinforce from a public opinion standpoint, the FBI is a very, very credible institution. Obviously, different political actors, individuals made different decisions, but I believe Americans will give the benefit of the doubt to the FBI director, knowing that the FBI has a long history of acting credible and reputable.
Okay. Well, if we move beyond, did you hear what Donald Trump said today, or have you read the latest Clinton email? What do you think is on the minds of American voters, and what could sway this election? Is it a new U.S. Supreme Court judge?
Well, that's a great question. Once again, this scandal probably just reinforces what people already think. Unless there's a smoking gun, it probably won't have much an effect. On the Republican side, on the Trump side, though, the key question is turnout. And so if you look at sort of his push has been messaging a rigged system. There's supermajority support of Americans that believe the system is rigged. He's been talking about specific issues like healthcare and repealing the Healthcare Reform Act. Those sorts of things that sort of get the voter out. So this scandal could have a marginal effect, but the empirical evidence really is quite large and growing that the odds are tilting towards Hillary and the Democrats.
Well, Clifford Young, it's great to see you, and we certainly appreciate your insight.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.